Mount Everest. The very name resonates with challenge, danger, and ultimate triumph. It stands as a monument to the indomitable spirit of exploration. The name alone conjures awe, a feeling of insignificance in the face of such immense power. A colossal pyramid of rock and ice, sculpted by millennia of wind and weather, the highest point on Earth, a beacon visible from space. For centuries, it stood unconquered, a silent sentinel watching over the world below. Known as Chomolungma to some, the mother goddess of the world, Sagarmatha to others, the forehead of the sky. A sacred, untouchable summit, revered by the local people, shrouded in myth and mystery. To adventurers, it was the ultimate test, the last great prize, a challenge that called to the very core of their being. Many tried and failed, their dreams dashed against its unforgiving slopes. Some never returned, claimed by its savage winds and deadly cold, their stories etched into the mountain's icy face. The mountain seemed to say, "You are not welcome here. Turn back before it's too late." Climbing Everest was more than a physical feat. It was a psychological and emotional crucible. It was a battle against nature and self-doubt, a test of will that pushed men to their absolute limits. Success would demand meticulous planning, cutting-edge equipment, superhuman endurance, and a healthy dose of luck. The world watched, holding its breath, waiting to see who would finally stand atop that hallowed peak and plant their flag. This is the story of how two men, an unlikely pair, one a humble beekeeper from New Zealand, with a quiet determination that belied his unassuming exterior, the other a legendary Sherpa from Nepal, a man born in the shadow of the mountain whose strength and knowledge were unparalleled, dared to dream and changed history, proving that even the most formidable challenges can be overcome with courage and collaboration. Together, they would step where no human had stood before, venturing into the death zone, where the air is thin and the cold bites deep. This is the raw, unfiltered story of the first conquest of Everest, a tale of bravery, sacrifice, and the enduring power of the human spirit. Before he was Sir Edmund Hillary, he was just Ed, a quiet, lanky kid from Auckland, New Zealand. He grew up helping with the family beekeeping business, learning patience and persistence. A school trip to Mount Ruapehu sparked his passion for mountains. Climbing became his obsession. He honed his skills in New Zealand's Southern Alps, learning to respect the mountain's power. Hillary was methodical, always prepared, and driven to push his limits. His reputation as a skilled climber earned him a spot on a 1951 Everest reconnaissance expedition. Seeing Everest up close only fueled his ambition. He impressed the team with his strength and determination at high altitude. The quiet beekeeper had found his calling. Now his eyes were set on the highest point on Earth. The 1953 British Everest expedition, a monumental undertaking, was led by the experienced Colonel John Hunt. It wasn't just a climb. It was a massive, meticulously planned operation involving years of preparation and logistical coordination. Every detail, from equipment to personnel, was carefully considered. Edmund Hillary, a determined and skilled climber, was a key member of a team that included some of the best climbers and the invaluable support of experienced Sherpas. Their local knowledge and high-altitude expertise were essential. Over 10,000 pounds of gear, including everything from oxygen tanks to specialized clothing, had to be hauled from Kathmandu to Everest's base. No roads, just a grueling trek across challenging terrain. Hundreds of porters and climbers journeyed 175 miles, a testament to their endurance and commitment. Crossing gorges on precarious bridges, climbing steep hills under heavy loads, and immersing themselves in the rich Sherpa culture, learning from their traditions and resilience. The trek was vital not only for transporting supplies, but also for acclimatization. Every step higher meant less oxygen, posing a significant threat, and a greater risk of altitude sickness. The landscape dramatically shifted from lush green valleys at lower elevations to a stark, unforgiving world of ice and snow, a constant reminder of the challenges ahead. Fatigue, sickness, and unexpected logistical challenges tested the physical and mental strength of the team before they even reached the base of the mountain. This arduous journey, however, forged them into a cohesive unit, building camaraderie and trust, ready to face the even greater trials that lay ahead. Finally, After weeks of trekking, they arrived at Everest Base Camp, a chaotic but organized city of tents perched precariously on the ever-shifting Khumbu Glacier. The real technical climbing work, the ascent itself, was now about to begin. Excitement, anticipation, and a healthy dose of anxiety filled the thin, cold air. The majestic mountain loomed above, its greatest and most treacherous challenges still waiting to test their limits. The battle for the summit, a contest against nature's raw power, was about to start. Among the team, Tenzing Norgay stood out, a Sherpa Sirdar with unmatched experience and a deep spiritual connection to Everest. He'd attempted the mountain 6 times before. For him, reaching the summit was a lifelong dream. From the start, a powerful bond formed between Hilary and Tenzing. Different backgrounds, but the same relentless drive. They communicated through action and trust, quickly becoming the expedition's strongest climbing pair. On Everest, your life is in your partner's hands. Their teamwork was absolute. Together, they established higher camps, carried heavy loads, and faced the mountain's dangers side by side. This was no guide-client relationship. It was a brotherhood forged in adversity. Their partnership became the key to the expedition's success. The mountain demanded their best, not just as individuals, but as a team. In each other, they found the perfect ally for the final push. The first major obstacle was the Khumbu Icefall, a chaotic, shifting river of ice riddled with deadly crevasses and towering seracs. Specialized icefall doctors risked their lives to forge a route, laying ropes and ladders across gaping chasms. Every trip through the icefall was a nerve-wracking ordeal. The groaning glacier could shift at any moment. Hilary and Tenzing made multiple crossings, hauling supplies and testing their courage. The icefall was Everest's gatekeeper, filtering out all but the most determined climbers. Successfully navigating it was a major victory, proving the team's resolve. With camps established above, they unlocked the door to the upper mountain. But the icefall was just the beginning. Everest's greatest challenges still lay ahead. Above 26,000 feet, the realm of human survival drastically changes. Here lies the death zone, a stark reminder of nature's unforgiving power, where the air is so thin it struggles to sustain life. The body begins to consume itself, and every breath becomes a monumental effort. Every step is a battle against the elements and your own failing physiology. Your body is slowly dying, reserves are depleted, and the mountain demands everything you have. Judgment clouded by hypoxia, muscles failing under the strain, and the ever-present threat of altitude sickness loom large. Simple decisions become monumental challenges. The team meticulously established camps higher and higher, a slow, arduous process of acclimatization and preparation. Each camp was a vital stepping stone. They were moving strategically through the western Kagem, a relatively flat, snow-filled valley, and then faced the daunting challenge of ascending the sheer Lhotse face. Climbing the Lhotse face was a vertical struggle against gravity, requiring every ounce of strength and skill. It was a true test of their climbing prowess. The climbers battled against relentless wind that threatened to rip them from the mountain, and bone-shattering cold that seeped into every layer of clothing. The first summit team, Bourdillon and Evans, pushed their limits and reached the south summit, a significant achievement in itself. But ultimately they had to turn back, their bodies pushed to the absolute brink, exhausted and critically low on oxygen. Their courageous attempt, though unsuccessful in reaching the true summit, proved that the route was indeed possible, a vital piece of the puzzle. They also provided crucial information about the conditions and challenges ahead, invaluable insights that would guide the next team's ascent. Now, with the groundwork laid and lessons learned, it was Hilary and Tenzing's turn to make their mark on history. They pushed upwards, driven by ambition and the weight of expectation, until they reached Camp 9. Camp 9 was a tiny tent, a precarious haven perched at the staggering altitude of nearly 28,000 feet, a world above the familiar. There they spent a freezing night, huddled together for warmth, isolated and completely exposed to the raw power of the mountain. Every piece of equipment was checked and rechecked, every movement deliberate, as they meticulously prepared for the final decisive push. The summit was tantalizingly close, a beacon of hope, but the most dangerous and demanding part of the climb was still looming ahead. 2 men, alone on the edge of the world, poised between the known and the unknown, their fates intertwined with the mountain's will, ready to step into the unknown, to face the ultimate test of human endurance and determination, with the summit as their only guide. The final assault, the culmination of weeks of planning and relentless effort, was about to begin. The moment of truth had arrived. The top of the world, the ultimate prize, was now tantalizingly within reach, a dream about to be realized. May 29th, 1953. Hillary and Tenzing emerged into the pre-dawn cold, roped together, oxygen hissing, every movement deliberate. They climbed the final exposed ridge to the south summit, then faced the last great obstacle, a 40-foot vertical rock face, the Hillary Step. No one knew if it could be climbed. Hillary, drawing on his rock climbing experience, found a narrow crack and wedged himself upward inch by inch, Tenzing anchored below, ready to hold the rope in case of a fall. It was the ultimate test of trust and teamwork. After a grueling struggle, Hillary hauled himself over the top, then brought Tenzing up. The final barrier was behind them. The rest of the ridge, though still dangerous, was manageable. The summit was just a few steps away. They had overcome Everest's last defense. The path to the top was clear. The world's highest point was within their grasp. With the Hillary Step behind them, the final ridge was a series of snowy humps leading upward. Exhausted but driven by adrenaline, they moved as one, Hillary cutting steps, Tenzing close behind. At 11:30 a.m., Hillary stepped onto the summit of Everest. They stood in stunned silence, overwhelmed by the reality of their achievement. Relief, not elation, was Hillary's first feeling. The struggle was finally over. They spent only 15 minutes on the summit, mindful of their oxygen supply. Hillary shook Tenzing's hand. Tenzing embraced him in a joyful hug. Hillary snapped the iconic photo of Tenzing with his ice axe and flags. Tenzing left offerings to the mountain gods, a gesture of respect. They looked out over the world, knowing they stood where no one else had. The descent would be dangerous, but they had reached the top of the world. The descent was perilous, but Hillary and Tenzing made it back to camp and eventually to safety. News of their success electrified the world, coinciding with Queen Elizabeth II's coronation. The conquest of Everest became a symbol of hope and possibility in a post-war world. Hillary and Tenzing became global heroes, proof that teamwork and courage could achieve the impossible. Hillary dedicated his life to helping the Sherpa people, building schools and hospitals in Nepal. He always credited the team, saying, "It is not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves." Today, Everest is crowded, but the first ascent remains a unique testament to human spirit. Their story is a timeless epic of courage, partnership, and the drive to reach for the sky. The journey of Hillary and Tenzing stands as a beacon for all who dare to dream. The highest point on Earth was once a place of myth, until two men made it real.